Hello, my friends. I'm reading by myself today. Nobody wanted a book read to them here, so I'm going to read to you solo today. Today's music is piano in the background on Spotify. It's a playlist. I like it a lot. It's really mellow. Today we're going to read Chapter 3 of The Outcast of Redwall by Brian Jacques. It is a novel of Redwall. The far northwest fringes of Mossflower Wood are broken by rocky outcrops, gullies, and hills. One could wonder why creatures bothered living there when the woodlands farther inward were so lush and bounteous. But home is home, and often creatures do not like to move away from the familiar surroundings of their birthplaces. So it was with the hedgehog family of Tirrylingle and the molekin of Bruff Debo, who had shared the same dwelling cave for untold generations. Tirry and his wife, Deary, had 4 small hogs, scarce a season and a half old. Not counting his old Uncle Blun and Aunt Ummer, Bruff had his wife, Lolly, and 2 little mole-maid daughters, Nilly and Pod, to provide for him. However, the dwelling cave of both families was not a happy place. It was a hungry and dangerous time for them, for outside in the gray, drizzling afternoon, another family awaited, a family of 5 foxes. The old vixen with the hulking son covered the back exit, while the father, an equally old dog fox, sat outside the front entrance with the fully grown son and daughter who towered over them. You can see them right here. It's kind of hard to see. Where is it? There. Do you see those foxes? What a bunch of buttheads. They had been there for nearly half a season, laying siege to the dwelling. It was quite easy to relieve one another for the purposes of eating or sleeping, and still keep up a presence, taunting and reasoning by turns, knowing they had the hedgehogs and moles prisoners in their own home until hunger would force them out. Don't be foolish. Come out. There's food here, friends, the vixen wheedled. Tirrylingle shouted at them. Gah! Shift yourselves, vermin! You ain't welcome here. The hulking fox son sniggered as he called into the back exit. There will be something tasty when you come out. You! The vixen nipped him sharply on the ear. Shut up, acorn brain! Do you want to scare them to death? The old father fox cajoled them at the front entrance. Come on, be reasonable. We just want to talk. You don't think we'd hurt your little ones, do you? Inside the dwelling, Bruff Debo helped Tirry to shore up the barricade that they had made from furniture and the bit of earth they could scrabble from the cave's rocky interior. Bruff shook his darkly furred head as he spoke in the quaint mole dialogue to his companion. I'm not going to read this that way because it makes me laugh because I feel silly doing it. So please bear with me while I learn how to do that and share that openly with people. Okay. Oh, I wish I had my old bow and arrows. Those vermins would soon shift themselves. Oh, yes, they would. Tirrylingle peered through the gap between an armchair and a table at the foxes sitting outside. They've got time on their rotten old side, Bruff. We don't. The little uns drank the last of the water this morning. Hold on. Oops. Where were we? Oh. They've got time on their rotten old side, Bruff. We don't. The little ones drank the last of the water this morning, and there's nothing but a stale rye crust standing between us and starvation. Uncle Blun's quavery voice piped up behind them. Oh, you rascals! I'm coming out there to beat you with my big stick. Oh, yes, I am. Bruff turned the old fellow around, patting his back. You're a fierce old animal, Uncle Blun. but it be time for your noontide nap. Go over there now. Go. Lay down and have a nap. Back in the cave, the little hedgehogs began weeping for food and for a drink. The two wives, Lily and Dearie, shushed them soothingly. The small group slumped, dejected, knowing what their inevitable fate would be. Sunflash the Mace sat amid pines and shrubs on a neighboring hillside, invisible to the foxes as he watched the scene below. Rain dripped from the edges of an old green cloak draped over his head. The warrior looked up now and then, searching the skies for the familiar figure of Scarlath to break through the drab curtain of drizzle, and then he rested his chin on his mace handle. Over the seasons, he had shaped it into a weapon that would last throughout his life. The handle had a tight binding of whipcord, which formed a loop to go over his paw. The rest of the club had been fire-hardened, oiled, and polished. Several arrowheads and spear tips were half buried in the wide, rounded head of the mace. Only Sunflash had the skill and the strength to wield such a formidable weapon. So it's really big, right? The badgers in this book are supposed to be like the tallest people in the book. And they're super strong and also super gentle. They can do both. Scarlath had seen the foxes too. He landed out of their sight and crept up silently until he was at Sunflash's side. "Friend Scarlath, what news of Swart Sixclaw?" said the badger, keeping his eyes on the foxes below. The kestrel edged under Sunflash's cloak, out of the rain. "He has gone east 3 sunrises back. Mayhap we are thinning his ranks too fine for him to follow us safely." Sunflash never once moved his eyes from the foxes. "I think you're right, but he'll be after us again someday, I think. A little older, angrier, and probably with a lot more help. His ruined Sixclaw won't let him forget us. Maybe we'll wait here for him." The kestrel's keen eyes began watching the foxes closely. "They look like they're all one brood. What are they up to?" Sunflash pointed one huge paw at the cave entrance. "I think they've got some likely victims bottled up in there. I was waiting on your return. The foxes are just bullies. I would not feel justified in slaying them, but they must be taught a lesson. If they see me, they'll be frightened off. Would you go down and speak to those foxes for me, my friend?" The young vixen and her brothers were running out of patience, and they began hurling stones through the cave entrance and shouting, "Get out here, you stupid beasts! I'll count to 10, and then we're coming in after you. 1... Just then, Scarlath fluttered to earth between the cave and the foxes. "Cree! You must go from here. Go at once!" The old dog fox did not appear to be at all disturbed. "Who are you, bird? What do you want?" he said indignantly. The kestrel treated him with lofty disdain. "Who I am matters not. I was sent here, however, to tell you to go quickly and stop persecuting whoever lives in this cave." The hulking son and his vixen mother came dashing round from the rear entrance. The former picked up a stone and made as if to hurl it at the kestrel. Scarlath spread his wings wide. "Throw that stone, and you will not see nightfall." "The bird's bluffing," the vixen snarled nastily. "There's only him. Come on, we'll rush him." Before they could move, the mace came hissing through the air and thudded upright in the wet ground. A voice like thunder froze the foxes in their tracks. "Be still or die!" They watched, astounded, as a huge badger came bounding down the hillside. Taking a rock ledge in his side, he gave a mighty leap and landed among them with a roar. "Urgh! I am Sunflash the Mace!" The vermin had definitely heard the name, and they crouched against the earth, trembling. Sunflash nodded to Scarlath. "See who lives in the cave. Please tell them that they are safe." Peering through the barricade of furniture, Bruff's wife, Lily, called out, "Hey, it's a hawkbird!" Old Uncle Blund roused himself from his noontide nap. "Did you say a hawkbird? Oh, you watch. I'm going to get my big stick and I'm going to kick his butt." Tiri clambered to the top of the barricade, crying, "Oh, lack a day. First foxes, then hawks, whatever is going to be next. Well, my friend, do you want to eat us too?" Scarlath kept his voice gentle and tried to smile. No, I don't want to eat you. I am your friend." "Do you know of one called Sunflash the Mace?" Tiri's wife, Deary, poked her spiky head through a gap in the barricade. "Sunflash the Mace, you say? I've heard of that one. A great warrior. Is he outside? Oh, I'd be honored to make his acquaintance." It took a great deal of fussing and persuading to get old Uncle Blund and Auntie Ummer out, but the little ones had no fear of the majestic badger warrior. Tiri and Bruff were completely awestruck. The foxes all lay down with their faces in the dirt. Scarlath kept a fierce eye upon them. When Uncle Blund was eventually coaxed out, he brought out his big stick and began laying about at the foxes. Bruff took the stick from the old fellow, saying, No. You can have an applesauce. What? Applesauce. The hunger. The never-ending hunger. Where was I? Bruff took the big stick from the old fellow, saying, Oh, Uncle, no. Don't beat those vermin round. The big Sir Sunflash might want to do that himself. You never know. The badger warrior listened carefully as Tiri, acting as spokesbeast for both families, explained how the foxes had besieged them and starved them. Sunflash listened, stifling a smile as he felt the two tiny mole-maids licking rainwater from his paw. Then, grasping his club, he winked at Scarlath and said, "Stand those vermin upright. Let me see their scurvy faces while I decide what to do with them." He used a big, strong voice. The mud-faced foxes wept and shivered as they faced the scowling warrior. Oh. So these are the tormentors of babes and old ones. These are the terrorizers of defenseless beasts. Well, what have you to say for yourselves? The father fox was about to speak when Scarlath's wing buffeted him into silence. No. You ever see no birdies at swing? Kind of push out with it on occasion? It's kind of what he's doing there. The kestrel knew the part he had to play. Scowling murderously, he strutted up and down, saying, "No, Lord Sunflash, these scum are not fit to speak. They are villains, and they are phobies. I say we kill them." "Oh, no, please. Oh, Lord Badger, please spare us. We meant them no harm." The entire fox family plopped down and groveled in the wet earth, wailing piteously, hands raised as if to touch Sunflash, but not quite touch him because they were scared. Scarlath winked at Sunflash, and the badger twirled his mace thoughtfully. Well, if we slay them here, it might upset these little ones. And then there's that digging of holes, and you have to bury the carcasses. Sunflash winked at Tiri, who had caught on to the idea. "What do you think, sir? After all, it was your family who suffered." Tiri Lingle paced pensively across the backs of the foxes' necks, driving them face down into the earth as he ruminated. Well, you have a point there, sir, but if you hadn't have come along, these blackguards would have slain us. Perhaps you'd best take them somewhere out of sight and finish them off. They surely deserve no better. But I leave it to you, Lord Sunflash." The fox's blubbering reached a crescendo, and Sunflash had to shout to be heard. I think I'll do it right here and right now if this noise continues. The fox family were suddenly struck dumb, pressing their quaking bodies against the earth. Bref Dubbo's old Auntie Ummer shook a paw at them. "Oh, you villains, see how you like a ladle of your own medicine. Serve you right." Sunflash produced a good-sized lilac leaf, and, making a slight split in it, he folded the leaf in two. Then he locked it between both paws, put it to his lips, and he blew. It made a loud whistle sound. He passed the leaf to Teary, saying, "Can you make a noise like that?" The hedgehog did, making an even louder whistle than Sunflash. Making leaf whistles and blowing them was one of my favorite pastimes as a young'un. Why do you ask? It's gardening day out there. Let's see if we can turn down the music, and we'll try to get this done. But if it gets too loud, then we'll just stop. Let's see. Sunflash turned to the foxes, his voice stern. All these good creatures are going to learn that noise, and then they will always carry a leaf with them, night and day. The kestrel can hear it almost a day's flight away, and if he does not, then other birds will hear it and they will tell him. Now listen carefully, foxes, because your lives depend on it. You must leave here and travel north. Never, I say never, must you return. Should you ignore my words and come back to these woods, the creatures you threaten will signal them, and I, Sunflash, swear a solemn oath upon my mace that I will seek you out and destroy you. Is that understood?" Thoroughly cowed, the foxes bobbed their heads up and down, nodding furiously, too scared to even speak. Then Sunflash began spinning the deadly hornbeam mace from paw to paw, his voice rising menacingly to a full-throated roar. I have given you your unworthy lives, but if you are still here by the time I have finished speaking, I am certain I will regret my decision, so I want to see how fast you can run. North, now! Wet earth, pebbles, and grass flew as the 5 former bullies scrabbled off into a headlong takeoff. In a very short time, the sound of their speeding paws was gone. Silence reigned outside the Dubbo-Lingle cave, and then suddenly, all present broke out into hearty laughter. Oh, they went like scalded frogs. Oh, my goodness. Greatly scared and muddy nose. Oh! There followed a round of introductions, congratulations, and thanks from both families. The 4 baby hogs and the 2 little mole maids had never seen anyone as big and as furry as Sunflash. They clambered all over him, smiling into his face and stroking the broad golden stripe on his muzzle. "What, you're a big mountain with fur on! A big, wonderful animal," they said. The big badger stayed stock still, fearing to move lest he upset the tiny creatures or trod upon them. His huge face, though, was wreathed in a pleased grin. Never had he encountered beasts so small and so affectionate. Teary's wife, Dearie, and her friend Loli, the mole wife, fussed about, throwing their aprons over their faces in embarrassment as they chided their babes. "Oh, do come away now and leave that gentle beast alone. Lack-a-day, what must you think of us? Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness, you and the hawkbird be welcome to rest a while in our dwelling cave. We'll be back at evening tide with victuals aplenty. Then we'll make a feast and we'll see you well fed." Both families fled into the surrounding woodland to forage for food, leaving Sunflash and Scarlash the hospitality of their cave. The 2 friends shifted the barricade and took their ease on thick woven rush mats. Surrounded by the peace and quiet of the homely atmosphere, they were soon in a deep, deep slumber. In his dreams, Sunflash could hear waves lapping against a seashore. He saw pale, beautiful sand. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Gotta find out where it was. In his dreams, Sunflash could hear waves lapping against the shore. He saw pale sand. He saw the sea, and he saw the mountain. A great feeling of longing swept over him, and he wanted so badly to be there, yet it seemed distant and intangible. Somewhere, a deep voice, that of a grown male badger, was chanting, "Find me one day 'neath the sun, guarding the land and the seas. Streams to rivers must run, telling their tales to the breeze. You are lord, by blood of your sires, from dawn till the daylight dies. As the sun burns the sea with its fires, and the stars pin night's cloak to the skies. Find me wherever you will, whenever you will. Seek me wherever you may. All your dreams fulfill, ere time like mist rolls away." Reality seeped back beautifully slowly. A warm, glowing fire, tantalizing odors, and the mole and hog babe stretching his head stripe and tickling Scarlath's swing feathers. "Wake up, sirs! The fiddles be here. Oh, and there's so many. Mum says you two will take some feeding." Tiri shooed the babes off. Go, guys, go. Come away, you little rogues. Let the poor creatures get up now." Around the fire in the cave's center, various concoctions were cooling on flat rock slabs. Bruff Dubbo presented them with beakers which he filled from a pottery jug. "Oh, friends, this is only dandelion and burdock cordial, but it's nice and cool to drink." It was dark, sweet, and delicious, and the two friends slaked their thirst. Deary Lingle pushed two of her brood forward. "Stand upright, hoglets, and say your piece. Come on, stop sucking those quills or they'll never harden. Speak out." Both small hedgehogs shuffled about, tugging their head spikes respectfully as they recited, "Thank you, Sir Hawk and Sir Badger, for saving all in this cave from the naughty foxes. Yeah, the naughty foxes. The bad verminy foxes. Oh, the rotten, ucky-pawed, stinky old foxes." They got a little bit out of control. Deary wagged a paw at her little ones. That's quite enough. Thank you." She turned to the two friends who were hiding their smiles by burying their faces in their beakers, and said, "What my little ones was saying is that our families would like to thank you for rescuing us from the vermin. You must stay here as long as you wish. Our cave is yours. Come now, friends, enough talking. Please help yourselves to the food." Sunflash and Scarlath had never tasted such good cooking. There was young onion and leek soup. This is my favorite part of these books. Listen and you'll know why. There was young onion and leek soup, hot brown bread spread with a paste made from beech nuts, a woodland salad, and a huge apple and green gage crumble. The crumble was a great favorite with the little ones, who spread it so thick with delicious honey. Old Uncle Blund sipped piping hot soup from a wooden bowl gratefully. "Oh, goodness, I was so afeard I'd waste away into an old shadow. Victuals sure do taste good after all that hunger." Sunflash had an enormous appetite, but the good wives of Tiri and Bruff would not hear of him stinting himself. "There's always plenty more, sir. There be a woodland full of victuals for us to choose." And so Sunflash the mace did full justice to the spread. It was late into the night when he and the kestrel sprawled by the fire. warm, rested, and for the first time in many a season, unable to eat another mouthful. The old mole, Auntie Ummer, hunted out a curious-looking instrument, a stout pole with bells, two strings, and a paw drum attached to its base. She plucked the strings, jangled the bells, and tapped the drum with a footpaw. The babes, who were far too excited to sleep, began jigging and hopping around the fire, clapping their paws with excitement. Oh my goodness! Play the girdle stick! Old Uncle Blun began tapping his paws and chanting. Willy-nilly-nilly, pod, 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 all you hoglets stamp the ground. My old paws ain't young like yours. Show us how you dance around. The girdle music sped up, and the little ones whirled and leaped, jigged and tumbled until they collapsed into a giggling heap, yelling for more dandelion and burdock cordial. Terry invited their new friends to sing, but they declined. Scarlath being too shy, and Sunflash explaining he never learned a song, being in captivity most of his young life. The homely hedgehog patted Sunflash's massive paw. By my spikes, isn't that a shame? No matter, my dearie has a voice like a lark at morn in a meadow. She'll cheer you up. And she did. She sang a lovely song about a caterpillar, with her jolly, clear voice. Laughter and applause greeted Dearie's song. The two families were used to entertaining themselves, and there followed a whole repertoire of songs, poems, and dances. Then, as the fire was allowed to fall into embers, each took their rest in the warm, dim cave. Sunflash had never been so happy or so content in his life. He hummed along as one of the small hedgehogs sang herself to sleep drowsily with a curious little chant. I'm not a last sand way south in the west, so star-lend a man, there's where I love best. Sand not as alarm, lone seabirds do wing, and alas, most ran, list to me whilst I sing. Each time the babe reached the end of this little ditty, she went back to the beginning and sang it again, her voice getting drowsier and drowsier until it was finally silenced by sleep. Something about the jumbled, seemingly meaningless words and the sad tune kept going around in Sunflash's mind. He finally shook Terry gently and said, I'm sorry to disturb you, sir. Are you awake? Just about. Friend, what? Do you need anything? That song your little daughter was singing. What is it? Oh, you mean the one with all the funny mixed-up words and the nice tune. Oh, it's an old thing my wife learned from her mother, and she probably learned it from her mother, and so on way back. All our hoglets know it. Pretty tune. Silly verse. Sunflash gazed into the glowing embers through half-closed eyes, sorry. Sunflash gazed into the glowing embers through half-closed eyes and said, I don't know why, but I'd like to learn it. Terry smiled as he settled himself into a comfortable ball. I'll tell the babes tomorrow. They'll be only too happy to oblige you. Well, that was fun. So, one of my favorite parts of these books is the author's descriptions of food. What I learned over the years about this author, Brian Jacques, he wrote these with the intention that they would be read to people who perhaps can't see. And so he got really good at describing things. Why I love the way he writes, like just the pale sands, gritty sands. There's the way chainmail might jingle as a character moves along. The way light is dappled as it filters through the canopy of the trees. I have long since loved that. I hope you enjoy it too. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you are hydrated. I hope you have eaten something nutritious today. Don't forget to stretch. That's what I'm about to go do right now. And if you can, get a hug from somebody. Hugs are good. Make sure you ask. All right. Have a good day. Bye.